Good morning. I said there'd be more. Oh, I'm 65, you know. I must have done something with my life. Stored up a few thoughts and memories, whatever. I've just watched this absolute classic little scene out of my window there. There's a little green. I feed the birdies and there's water and sort of jumps bricks either side so they can stand on them and keep the little plastic troughs from tipping over. And first of all, there were 3 pigeons, and one pigeon sort of went whoop, chased one off. And that one pigeon was sort of clearly the big boss pigeon. Because then the other pigeon chased that one off, and then, though, the first one chased off the 3rd pigeon. So that was obviously numbers 1, 2, and 3 in the pigeon world. So the big boss is in the front feeder, and then I've just gone to the back where I've got a bird table as well, just a little yard, very grand my place. And lo and behold, there are 2 pigeons there, so it may have been the 2 who chased off. So I don't know what example that sets us, live and let live or something. I've been watching old Dave Allen. He was a very capable Irish comedian. He used to just sit on a chair and spin these silly yarns and have little skits and so on, way back in the 70s, 80s, I think, in British television. Right, now this is courtesy of a certain David, SPL, is his moniker on YouTube. But it's all in me anyway. And the general it's about what you do when attacked, either on a personal level, you know, someone comes to your door and threatens you and your family and so on, and etc., or obviously now with Ukraine, Russia. Right. I'm saying, as a Christian, Dave Allen had this thing of always a cigarette. It sort of is like fire for me. I don't inhale them, and it's only 1 or possibly 2 in the morning with my tea and so on. So I'm not a smoker, and it's just what I do as well, curiously. You know, I'm alive, check my fingers and toes, had some sleep and so on. So, I'm saying unequivocally, no grey areas, black and white. If they strike you on one cheek, give unto them the other cheek. And I'm saying that, of course, because it's directly from the Gospels. Christ's teaching, and then every single hair on the head of your fellow man, woman and child is precious and special. Therefore you can't harm them, you mustn't harm them. And be positive, you mustn't kill them. In all circumstances. So I've mentioned this elsewhere. I used to go to, it's sort of known as the Peace Square in London, Tavistock Square, just south of Euston Railway Station, sort of north central London there. There's a cherry blossom tree in the centre, but there are these sort of 5 or 7 tons of Wardivision Elter water slate from Cumbria, inscribed for conscientious objectors through all ages of any creed, colour, race, beliefs or non-belief, etc., those sort of words, who have refused to kill. And the classic example, of course, is Alban, St. Alban. So I'm well and truly on my hobby horse now. And then these words, so I'll indicate the passages. I'm not going to read the whole lot in. But on Armistice Day in England, it's from Micah. These absolute sort of underpin our society. These words are read by the priest at Armistice Day, Sunday. They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation will not take up sword against nation, nor will they train for war anymore. So that's chapter 4, Micah. The whole passage is beautiful, actually, and very much worth referring to anyone who's interested. And then Isaiah, the branch from Jesse. A shoot will come up from the stump of Jesse. From his roots a branch will bear fruit. The Spirit of the Lord will rest on him, the Spirit of wisdom and of understanding, the Spirit of counsel and of power, the Spirit of knowledge and of the fear of the Lord. And he will delight in the fear of the Lord. And then I'm jumping a little bit, so that's Isaiah 11. The wolf will live with the lamb, the leopard will lie down with the goat, the calf and the lion and the yearling together. And a little child will lead them. The cow will feed with the bear, their young will lie down together, and the lion will eat straw like the ox. The infant will play near the hole of the cobra, and the young child put his hand into the viper's nest. They will neither harm nor destroy on all my holy mountain. For the earth will be full of the knowledge of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea. And obviously there's much more. Excuse me. Right. So that's Isaiah, who lived. You go into this, it's Isaiah, the whole book of Isaiah has possibly been written by 3 people and so on. But anyway, Isaiah is pretty well documented as living some 700 years before Christ. The branch of Jesse is Christ, of course. So that's God's vision for his world. Christ came to teach us about it. Physically, he himself, I'm having this discussion with my old neighbour down south in Harpenden. He's an ex-army, proper old, tough old Londoner, trying to smoke himself to death. He's 70-something. He reckons he's had his innings, so he could go soon. He sits there smoking, not quite chain smoking, but... And I think he's troubled about his military past and so on, what he may have done under orders and so on, and he's sort of denying, kind of poking fun at my faith, but he keeps returning to it, you see. So I can only offer what I can offer. But I've been thinking about this, for heaven's sake. Essentially, I'm saying all of mankind, certainly since Christ, all of mankind's fighting was false, wrong. All of it. All armies, all the military stuff, all the pomp and circumstance, all the British regiments, all the killing, all the heroism. You can be a hero without having to rescue the other words they quote is from the Gospel of John, chapter 15, this is. I don't even have to look this one up. He who lays down his life for his friend, and that. No greater love. As a man, but to lay down his life for his friend. Well, that's just rubbish. You can't use God's word. Christ does not mean go out and fight. He means, I don't know, I can't quite envisage the circumstances how you lay down your life for a friend if you're not fighting, but there we are. Christ did not get armies to fight the Romans. He did not get a rabble, an insurrection. That would have been the normal sort of human behaviour. There's an occupying power, and you band together and oppose it with violence. That is the standard human model, obviously. We scroll on, obviously, First World War, Second World War, the Germans. And I'm saying, but as a Christian, I shouldn't be alone in this. All Christians should know this and see this clearly. And if they can't, then I'm stating it as a Christian. It is radical. We're surrounded by, especially in England, all that militaria. Remembrance Sunday, I've spoken of this elsewhere. All the youngsters, the cadets and so on, and the priest, and so all the great and the good, the Lord Lieutenant and the Mayor and Mayoress or whatever, all present there, and everyone, the 2-minute silence and everything, which I respect. People have died. I mean, I've definitely had these conversations over the years with ex-military types or people who've had family, and especially older ones who sort of died in the Second World War and so on. Well, charging in there with my views, if you like. But to me, it is not a question of a view, what I'm saying. I'm merely highlighting, bringing to the fore, emphasizing Christ's teaching. This is not from me because I am made the way I am now. Yes, it's very much a part of me that in my personal life, my behaviour must always be non-violent. Full stop. I've again mentioned this elsewhere, but I've only had 2 fights in my whole life. I've got an older brother, so when we were younger, he's a big, strong chap too. And particularly one I can see him wrestling me to the ground in Wills Grove, which is Mill Hill, NW7, London. We went to a minor public school. I don't know what it was about, and there it is. But I've been in situations where I have just curled up, knelt in front of someone in New Zealand, for instance, high on drugs, and I wouldn't fight him. Because, to me, the moment I even think of responding with physical violence, I have denied my Christianity, my faith. So instead of the response being, you've got all those, this is Zelensky, the First Minister of Ukraine speaking. You've got all these speaking to the West, these huge arsenals of weapons gathering dust. Well, give us a few and we can use them against the Russians. Brilliant. Pour the fuel on, that's it. Let the killing commence and continue. I mean, the idea in this Mariupol place of a baby dying in the mother's arms of dehydration. Right, so what do you do then? Kill all the people who turned the water off. And then what happens? What about their families at home, who are deprived of their... Ugh. That's the whole point. Christ has come absolutely, unequivocally, and I'm saying, clearly it is a big discussion, but I'm saying in myself, for instance, the more I've focused on this, the more clear it becomes to me that I am merely highlighting in all circumstances, in one's personal life, in one's life in the world, Christ's teaching and Christ's example. The Romans were awful. I've been to Rome. The Via Appia, south of Rome, it's a long straight road. Apparently there were countless crosses with people hanging from them. You know, those who've opposed the ruling power, the Romans. That's how they dominated. They built these roads all over the show, all over the whole of Europe, Britain, with forts and armies and soldiers, and suppressing the local population very brutally. That is mankind's history, part of mankind's history. And just go round the world, for heaven's sake. Which I'm not going to do forever, but I mean, China has had the most horrendous battles and fights and stuff over its part in its past. Everywhere. So, I really don't think I ought to be just alone in this simple, basic, fundamental Christian standpoint. No violence. Under any circumstances, no thoughts of violence. Well, how do we get there? That's the problem, isn't it? First of all, changing people's hearts and minds. You don't go in mob-handed and slaughter countless tens of thousands of people in Iraq and then turn up. This is the second war in Iraq now I'm on about, in my lifetime. Oh, we're about a bit of love and peace here. Brilliant. Just doesn't work, does it? We'll subjugate you and, you know, beat you into peace or something. There's too much resentment and pain and sorrow and suffering now being stored up in I mean, again, I've been looking into Ukraine, its origins, and there were the Cossacks who slaughtered the other lot. So the Cossacks are sort of, their roots are in Ukraine and also Poland. I listened to this Radio 4 program now about, it used to be a much greater Poland, encompassing Lithuania and all the way from the Baltic Sea down to the Black Sea. And right. Love is the answer. The two commandments: love God, love your neighbor as yourself, and then listen to Christ's teaching. And at all levels, from a personal to an international. If they strike you on one cheek, turn unto them the other cheek. Amen.